going on, y'all? I want to talk about the game of life and how you can either control it or let it control you. That's what I want to talk about. And when you talk about controlling life or letting life control you, it really comes down to one of two things. But either one you pick is automatically going to come with the other one. And that's responsibility and accountability. Because when it comes to life, it's unpredictable. Anything can happen at any time. And sometimes you ain't going to have no control over what it is that happened. You know, a loved one could die tomorrow. You have no control over that. You know, you could crash your car tomorrow, or somebody might crash into you. That's something you can't control. You know, it's all kinds of situations that go on. I mean, it could start pouring down raining right now. There's nothing you could do about that. A tornado could run through your town and tear everybody's houses apart. There's nothing you could do about it. There's so many different situations and circumstances and things that could happen in life you have absolutely no control over. Only the Almighty does. And so when it comes to those things, the reason that I said accountability and responsibility is because when I say that, it basically just means that if you take responsibility for all things that happen in your life, if you take accountability for all the things that happen in your life, that automatically gives you, I don't want to say full, but more control over said circumstance. Meaning, you know, you're driving down the street, you leaving your house, you might be going to the grocery store. Some idiot comes running his red light, crashes right into you. That's a situation you can't control. But there are things that you could have controlled. You know, wearing your seatbelt, not being on the phone, maybe not blasting your music, you know, looking both ways, even though you had the light, looking both ways to make sure ain't no idiots like that coming. You know, things like the small things that you can control. You know, if you're able to take responsibility, somebody crashes into you. Damn, I couldn't do nothing about that. But you know what I could have did? I could have been wearing my seatbelt. I could have put my phone up in the phone holder. I could have had I didn't have to have my music all the way up like that. Maybe you was speeding yourself and you just wasn't paying attention. I ain't have to be driving that fast. Like when you take accountability and responsibility for those small things, that gives you more control over the situation rather than saying he shouldn't have been going so fast and he just crashed right into me. That might have been true, but maybe you should have been paying more attention. You know, maybe you was driving down the street and some idiot just darts out between two cars and come trying to run across the street, trying to jaywalk, and you run his ass over. That was his fault. He should have been paying more attention. But guess what? Maybe you should have been paying more attention too. Maybe you shouldn't have been driving so fast. Maybe you shouldn't have been on your phone. Maybe your radio shouldn't have been up. Maybe you shouldn't have 10 motherfuckers in the car all laughing, talking, and being all loud, carrying on while you trying to pay attention to the road. You see what I'm saying? If you take responsibility, you have more control over the situation, and that allows you to do better moving forwards. And I really think that that's a really good piece of advice to give, because when you do take that responsibility, now you have, not only do you have more control over the situation, but now you don't have to deal with the fact that you are not taking accountability, blaming other people for whatever it was that went wrong, even if it is their fault. Still blame yourself. There's something you could have done, perhaps, to prevent that. You know what I'm saying? You go to the club and it start getting shot up, you ain't have nothing to do with that. That situation is out of your control. But you know what you could have controlled? Maybe you could have went to a better club. Maybe you could have left earlier. You ain't have to stay there till 2 in the morning. You know, it's all in any situation, there's a way that you can take responsibility for what just happened. And then it makes it not only does it make it easier for you to maneuver through, but it makes it better for you, because then that helps you to become a stronger person, a better person, because now when you end up in another situation like that, you're smarter going into that situation. Hey babe, we're going in this club, we're not about to be here all night though, we're gonna be leaving about 10 o'clock. You know, situations like that. Next time when I go to the grocery store, I'm gonna have my music down just a little bit, so I could be able to pay closer attention to what's going on around me. You know, I'm about to buy me a phone holder, so next time I'm driving, I don't have to be distracted having the phone all in my face. I could still be looking ahead with my phone holder being up against the windshield, so I don't have to worry about looking away. You know, when you go back into those situations, you're now smarter. You're a smarter person, and now you're able to more safely, and you're able to be better in certain situations. And a lot of people won't be able to really understand what I'm saying. They'll be like, well, that doesn't make sense. How can you take responsibility and accountability for something that you had no control over? You might not have had control over that direct action, but you had control over the actions that you took to end up in that situation. Simple. So just any situation, just find something to blame on yourself. And that way, you'll be able to control those outside situations better when those situations come back around again. If they even do come back around again. Because now you have a stronger degree of control. Now you're controlling the frame. Simple. And only do it with yourself. Only do those kinds of things with yourself. I'm not saying when you end up in that accident and the police come and they come questioning you about what happened, and you sit there and say, well, I was speeding too, I shouldn't have been on my phone, like, no, don't snitch on yourself, because those are small things. Yeah, but those are small. Damn, they hit that back of my trailer hard as hell over there trying to load this thing up. But yeah, don't snitch on yourself to other people. But when you get by yourself, you evaluate. Maybe I should have did this better. Maybe I should have did that better. I should have went about it like this instead of like that. Just the small things, the little things that can make such a big difference in the next situations to come. You know? Simple. Just accountability and responsibility is how you can control the frame of your life. You can control the direction of your life. Because if you're not doing those things, in my personal opinion, if you're not doing those little things like taking responsibility and accountability for certain situations, if you're not doing that, then you're basically just letting life control you. Because when you're not doing those things and you blaming the outside world and everything else around you for said circumstance that you end up in, or circumstances or situations that you end up in, you blame everybody else but yourself. That's just saying, hey, I couldn't do nothing about it. I can't do nothing about it. It just happened. And if it happens again, you're going to do the same thing. It just happened. It was their fault. It was his fault. It was her fault. They shouldn't have did that. If they didn't do that, I wouldn't be in this situation. If they didn't come at me all aggressive, I wouldn't have beat their ass. No, that's the wrong way to think. They came at me aggressive. I know what I'm capable of, so I'm going to walk away. Simple. And now the whole situation may have been de-escalated. Now it's different if you had no choice. If they chose, if they see you trying to ease off the situation, de-escalate, try to walk away, and they still decide to pursue, by all means, defend yourself. By all means. But when you have those types of options, take those options first before taking that extreme. And then when the situation is all said and done, evaluate. What could I have done better? What should I have done rather than do this? And you'll be surprised how much of a change that'll make in your life. Ray World out, man.